Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Twitter. We are live on X. And, of course, on Roku via the national streaming sports app. Thank you all so much for being a part of today's show. We've got all kinds of things that we're going to be talking about today as I see that our friend Linda McGrath is tuned in right now. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today, Linda. Also, our guy Adrian Zamudio is tuned in as well, making sure that all the audio and everything sounds good. Remember, everyone, we are brought to you by our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. RevAutoCarCare.com is where you can go to get up to 15% off of all your car care needs. I love my car. I've got a Mustang GT convertible. It's one of my favorite things in the world, but I cannot take it through one of those, pressurized car washes, those touchless car washes, any of that stuff, because the air, like the dryer and all that stuff, can just push all the air through the back window. It can loosen my back window. So I have to make sure I wash my car by hand. And Rev Auto Car Care is where I go to make sure that all of the things I have to wash my car are the absolute best. RevAutoCarCare.com. Use promo code Tipton33 and save yourself up to 15% on all of their products. Linda saying, good morning, Mike. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I had an amazing Thanksgiving. Our guy Adrian Zamudio saying, buenos dias a usted. Thanksgiving to me, that's always one of my favorite holidays. Obviously, I'm a big fat guy, so I love any holiday that incorporates a ton of food. I'm the go-to guy when it comes to my family for baking. I'm the one that basically remembers all of my mom's recipes. So whenever people or my family members come over and we eat some pie or we eat some cornbread or we do any of those things, you always see that real life ratatouille moment of like, you take a bite and it just transports you back to another point in time. That's one of my favorite things to do whenever I bake or whenever I cook. I love baking. I love cooking. There's people out there that have choice words to say about a man that loves to bake and cook. One thing I can tell you is I might die at 50, but I'm going to die happy. There's a lot of butter in the stuff that I make. Okay, so that's enough of that. I was going to start today's show with my Tippy top 10. Go over the top 10 teams that we have in the NFL, because I could have sworn that last night's matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns was going to be a snooze fest. And I'm on the Broncos bandwagon. I am on it thinking this is going to be a team that can cause some problems in the future. They're going to be a team that can derail some playoff hopes for other teams as they try to make the playoffs themselves. The Cleveland Browns are just going to do what the Cleveland Browns do. They're going to lose. It's one of their things. It's what they are synonymous with, right? The Cleveland Browns equals losers. And then I started watching that game yesterday as I got my dude Augustine Pimentel tuning in. He's saying, what? I don't know what it was that I said that deserves the what reaction, but please refresh me. And as I'm watching this game yesterday, first quarter, second quarter, then the third quarter came after halftime, and you see Bo Nix complete a 70-yard touchdown, and you think to yourself, wow. Just wow. Like, Bo Nix looks like he's got it. And you heard Troy Aikman talking about it, the Bill Parcells way of thinking, which is the more starts you have at quarterback, the more reps you have, the more successful ultimately you're going to be. Bo Nix set a record in college, 61 starts in college. I didn't realize it was that much. I knew he had the record. I didn't think that it was 61 starts that he had in college. This guy's ready, right? Like, he's played a ton of football. No one has played more college football than Bo Nix. And then on the opposite end, you have Jameis Winston. And Augustine Pimentel saying Jameis Winston is awful unless you have Njoku on your fantasy team. Bo Nix is going to be amazing. I agree with that. I agree that Bo Nix is going to be amazing. The Jameis Winston being awful part, though, I don't agree with. I love watching Jameis Winston play football. You know he's out there having a fun time. And yes, I know there's going to be some people out there like, Tip, he's got a questionable past, right? There's been things with Jameis Winston in the past. Look, man, the football field is where you go to escape that stuff, right? This show, whenever I started doing this show, especially during the COVID times, I didn't have sports to talk about. I used it as a release for people, as an escape for people. We were talking about dumb stuff like tacos, burritos. I tried what's called Dalgona coffee and felt it pulsate through my veins, as I'm someone that's not big on caffeine. It was insane the amount of messages that I got on something as silly as this of being an escape for people. And I took it seriously that way. That's what the football field should be for all the athletes that are out there. It should be their escape. Jameis Winston playing football, you can tell that's where he's the happiest. You get the weird quotes. What was it last week? I'm just so happy and thankful the Lord has blessed me to play in some snow. Instant meme. Instant meme. He's become a GIF for the rest of eternity. But you can tell he's out there just having himself a fun time. Augustine Pimentel saying, here's the question. Would you want him on your team? Yes. But I'm a different kind of guy, right? Like I'm a different type of football fan. I'm a different type of fan in general. I like the gunslinger mentality that Jameis Winston has. I like the let's risk it for the biscuit mentality that Jameis Winston has. If you look at the Cleveland Browns game since he's been the quarterback, they're not a great team. They have a lot of issues on the offensive line. They have a lot of issues in the running game. They have a lot of issues on defense. They have an issue at quarterback because Jameis is just going to be an old school gunslinger and throw that ball out there as hard as he possibly can, uncorking fastballs, as what we heard yesterday on the broadcast. But he keeps you in the game. The team's not going to be good. We saw that example with Tampa Bay, right? I have it written down on my notes. I even have it in the show description. The most Jameis Winston game ever Jameis Winston is what yesterday was. 58 attempts, has 497 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, 2 of which are pick sixes, right? That is Jameis Winston's career in a nutshell. Think about whenever he was in Tampa Bay. Has 5,000 yards passing, 30-plus touchdowns, and then also has 30-plus interceptions, right? The team, I believe they missed the playoffs that year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. Get rid of Jameis Winston, sign Tom Brady the next year, win a Super Bowl, right? Like, obviously, that's not going to happen to the Cleveland Browns. They're not winning a Super Bowl no matter who shows up as their quarterback. But that's what Jameis Winston's career is. That's his entire career arc, has been this just, let's go out here and sling it, man. And you know he's having fun. It's got to be frustrating to be a fan of his of whatever team he's on. But it's fun. It's a fun brand of football. I'll take it over what the hell I'm getting with Cooper Rush. As a backup quarterback, Augustine, you bet your ass I'd love to have Jameis Winston as my quarterback, as a backup quarterback. Because I know if Dak Prescott goes down, I have a guy that can sling the ball down the field, an absolute cannon. And with that cannon comes a little bit of inaccuracy. I would much rather watch the 42-36 game that we got yesterday, or whatever the final score was. I might have that wrong. Let me look. I know someone's going to be like, that wasn't the right score, Tip. 41-32. I'd rather have the 41-32 game that I got out of Jameis Winston yesterday than what I had to suffer through with the Dallas Cowboys 27-20 win with Cooper Rush. And I get it, 27 points, it's a decent amount of points that you can get scored, right? But how much more fun is watching Jameis Winston than Cooper Rush? I guarantee you, right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars wish they had Jameis Winston on their team. Hell, the New Orleans Saints probably wish they still had Jameis Winston on their team. A ton of teams out there. You could just start naming them off, just rattling them off. Wish that they had Jameis Winston as their quarterback. He's not going to be your top-tier quarterback, but he is a starter, a certified starter in the NFL. why he was backing up Deshaun Watson is insane to me. And Aikman said it on the broadcast yesterday as well, which was the whole, okay, why did it take so long? Imagine where this team could be, the Cleveland Browns. Imagine where the Cleveland Browns could be if they didn't have Deshaun Watson as a starting quarterback all season or went to Jameis Winston earlier in the season. Augustine Pimentel saying, you're the type of guy that would promote something about nuts. I 100% am. That's coming a little bit later. Get it? Get it? Get it? See what I did there? The double entendre. All right. But that's what I love about guys like Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is just out there playing his game. Unapologetically playing his game. I see my dude Tommy Carranza has tuned in. Got my girl Medusa Designs tuned in right now as well. We're gonna be shooting the commercial today. Got way off track yesterday with a bunch of things I had to do, but the new commercial is coming in today. I have the product right here next to me, so we're gonna talk about that coming up in just a little bit as well. But Jameis Winston's style of play is so much fun to watch. Yes, it's got to be frustrating, again, as I said, to be a fan of whatever team that Jameis Winston is on. It's got to be frustrating. But you cannot deny that it's fun. It's so much fun. And that's ultimately what this game should be about. Yes, I know, wins and losses, everyone, blah, 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 trophies, all that good stuff, right? You already know my mindset. If you don't win the championship, there are no moral victories in professional football. There is none of this, oh, well, we made it to the playoffs, and look at us. We're doing great, fellas. I wonder if I can get sued for using that type of voice. I think my voice is still too deep to match the eared one. But again, Adrian Zamudio saying the UTEP volleyball are in the NCAA championship tournament. Yes, they are. We'll talk about that on another show. Adrian, this one right here, we're a little more national. So we're going to keep a little more national storylines with it. But UTEP volleyball, congratulations to them. I can't wait to see what they do against the Oklahoma Sooners. It's going to be so much fun to watch that. I got trolled on the other day by someone on Instagram who's like, oh, this guy, he likes women's volleyball. And? What's the point of that troll job? Yes, I like women's volleyball. What you going to do about it, guy? You're too manly to watch women's volleyball? There's nothing more manly than watching a bunch of men just go at it with each other. Hey, yo. Anyway, I need to like digress, take it back. That was like a comment about, I guess, a week ago, whenever the UTEP volleyball NCAA tournament was, right? But getting back to Jameis Winston, getting back to the NFL, I love watching games like that. I thought that game was going to suck, and I was not going to watch it. Much like I came on this show a couple of weeks ago and said, I'm not going to watch the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who wants to watch that matchup? Ha, ha, ha. I was wrong about that matchup. So I decided that I am going to 100% watch all these games no matter how much it bothers me. Augustine Pimentel saying, yes, please stop that. That was creepy. No, this is the creepy voice. Oh, yeah. I used to do that whenever I was working at KLAQ, and it was just so fun walking into a room with that voice and then walking right out just to see how people would react. God, I'm an idiot sometimes, but you know what? It's a fun time, and that's all that matters. Same thing with Jameis Winston. Idiotic throws yesterday. Fun time watching that game. I am all in now on watching the Cleveland Browns. Yes, I get it. I've got some friends that are Browns fans, and I keep hearing from them the whole concept, basically, of, oh, this team's not going to win. Woe is me. We're not winning a Super Bowl. If you know you're not going to win a Super Bowl, if you know you're not winning a championship, enjoy the ride, man. At least have fun on the ride. With me as a Cowboys fan, I know they're not winning a championship, but you know what I really enjoy about it is the fact that no matter what happens, people are going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys. End of discussion. I get the satisfaction of knowing that my team, being as terrible as they are, is still going to lead most days on SportsCenter. Is still going to be the number one topic that my friends over at Unsportsmanlike will roll out whenever it becomes a slow day. All right? All you have to do, really, And even I can do this if I so chose to. As a matter of fact, I might do it this weekend. We'll see. We'll do it on Monday night. We'll see what we do on Monday night. I might do a Monday night show. And all I will say is something as simple as, the Dallas Cowboys, huh? And we'll see what people's reactions to that are. It's going to be a fun time. Tommy Canonso, 100% right. America's team, like it or not, right? That's where I get my fun at, is I know that the Dallas Cowboys are ultimately going to just PO some people because they exist. It's that simple, right? So that's how I have my fun. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you get to watch Jameis Winston just go out there and be maximum Jameis Winston. Why on God's green earth wouldn't you love that? Why on God's green earth wouldn't you want to be like, I'm all in on just watching this team no matter what the train wreck is going to be? A few years back, I say the Detroit Lions are going to be a fun team to watch. They're not going to win games. Dan Campbell's first year, they're not going to win games, but they're going to be a fun team to watch. Cleveland Browns are not going to have the turnaround that the Detroit Lions had, but they're still going to be fun to watch. And that's what matters. Augustine Pimentel saying America's team. Didn't the Steelers say no to that title a while back? I don't think so. No one really talks about the Steelers. The Steelers are doing an amazing job this year, and no one's talking about the Steelers. Destiny Tipton going on to say, you either hate them or love them. There is no in-between 100%. There is no in-between when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers just because I grew up in a certain era, but I know there's a whole lineage of Dallas Cowboys fans that do not care about the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a whole lot of people in the AFC that don't care about the Pittsburgh Steelers. But everyone seems to have an opinion about the Dallas Cowboys. That's why they are America's team, right? Hate it, love it. You're the 50-50 split, just like politics, right? It's a 50-50 split. But you're going to be talking about them. Also, so glad, so glad that, and I hope that y'all were able to go through your Thanksgiving without having any political talk. I was looking on Instagram just because I love trolling on people, and the amount of comments of, someone taking a picture of their food and being like, they're going at it again. They're going at it again. And it was like, oh man, that's always fun to me. I just love watching that stuff. I love whenever conversations do not devolve into the political rhetoric where it's just fish bait, right? Tommy Cananza saying he's one of them. Are you one of the fans that hate the Steelers, or are you just so indifferent to the Steelers? Because I feel like you and I are both around the same age, Tommy, or maybe I'm making you older than you are, but I feel like we're around the same age. We kind of grew up with that. It was a tail end of the 70s rivalry. We get the rivalry back in the Super Bowl again in 1995, 96. Jesus Christ, I'm old. And I feel like that's whenever I was like, you know what? The Steelers are garbage. Like it was just intertwined into my body that the Steelers were going to be garbage. Tommy Cananzo going on to say that the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls and he does not give a damn about the New England Patriots, and then going on to say that he's 40. So we are the same age. We're about we're there. We're there. Your 40 probably looks much better than my 40. My 40 is aging like a glass of milk left outside in the summer. And if you're in El Paso, you know how bad of an idea that is. Tommy going on to say that he doesn't care about the Steelers. And that's the thing, right? How can you be America's team? And like even the New England Patriots, they won so much that you would expect everyone to have had some sort of opinion about the New England Patriots. And it's the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I said this yesterday, right? They've won so much. They've been so dominant in this stretch of time that it's so hard to just deny them their greatness. You knew Tom Brady was great. End of discussion. A lot of his statistics will more than likely never be broken. And if they are, we only expect it to be broken by Patrick Mahomes, right? You gave the devil his due. But think about this. Emmitt Smith has over 20,000 all-purpose yards in the NFL, a number that will never be touched. And all people are going to say is, Barry was better. How is Barry Sanders better if he's so much further down the list? Now, I get it. He was a more dynamic running back. He was faster than Emmitt Smith, but he didn't see it out throughout his whole career, right? We didn't get to see the whole run that he went on. How is it that we can sit here and deny Emmitt Smith's greatness, even though his same statistics are more than likely more unbreakable in the NFL now than anything Tom Brady has done, right? Is there a running back out there? Even Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry would have to play until his early 40s at the same pace he's playing at now in order to break Emmitt Smith's records that he has for most rushing yards. I'll do it after the break. I'll find out where we are as far as who's going to be close as a running back to touchdowns for Emmitt Smith. It's just like Jerry Rice, right? We can say Jerry Rice is the greatest of all time. Unequivocally say it, that Jerry Rice is the greatest of all time. Because those teams, for whatever reason, were so well respected and acknowledged. But how dare we say that the Dallas Cowboys, who have the greatest running back of all time, the greatest running back, don't know what happened there. That was interesting. That's my system telling me that I've got to just create a commercial break right now. Maybe that's what I'll do, because it's got me off my train of thought. But before we get to that commercial break, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my nuts and why my nuts are so happy right now. Yesterday, I was able to go to the mailbox. I was able to check out a gift that I got myself from my friends over at myhappynuts.com. And this is the Bulber. I am going to put that up here closer to the screen so you can see. It's got the guides. It's got all kinds of stuff. That is a male grooming aid, the Bulber, from our friends over at Happy Nuts. Today is the last day that you can go to www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton and save anywhere between 25 to 40%. 25% off of the anti-chafe stick. 30% off of the Happy Nuts Comfort Cream. And, of course, 40% off of the Bulber. All these products are amazing products. I am not just a fan. I'm not just some talking head when it comes to this stuff. I care about my grooming. I am 100% one of those dudes that cares about himself and his presentation, right? I might not look it all the time with the unkempt beard, with the not so freshly shaven head, but I do care about my personal appearance. MyHappyNuts.com has all the things I need. They got body washes. They've got the things you need for trimmers. They've got all you need. Today, the last day that you can go and save anywhere from 25 to 40% off all of the products over at myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. Whenever we come back, we're going to get you with the Tippy Top 10.
Hello, Bernie Olivas again, Executive Director of the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, giving you an update as to who's going to play on the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl on December the 31st at high noon at the Sun Bowl Stadium. Well, this is week 12, and we still have a plethora of teams that could possibly be in the Sun Bowl, all of them very good. From the Pac-12, we're still looking at Arizona State, Washington, UCLA, USC, and Utah. Any of those teams would do great in El Paso. From the ACC side, we have another bunch of teams that are still possibles, beginning with Syracuse, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, North Carolina. Boy, what any of those matchups will be tremendous for our game, again, on December 31st. Make sure you get your tickets early. They're going pretty fast. So, December 31st, 12 noon, Sun Bowl Stadium. Get your tickets now. Don't get left out.
Hello, I'm Mike Tipton with a message for the ladies. Ladies, the man in your life doesn't know how to tell you this, but his nuts are not happy. Don't worry, you can make them happy by giving them happy nuts this holiday season. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton and look for the perfect package that fits your man's package. From our Jingle Bells Your Ball Smell gift box that contains a Happy Nuts Comfort Cream and Anti-Chafe Comfort Stick, two of our best sellers, and a special gift your man would love to hang from the tree, to our fresh and clean bundle, our special soaps, and even our patented nut scrubber, MyHappyNuts.com has everything you need to take your man's nuts from being sad to happy this holiday season. Visit MyHappyNuts.com/Mike Tipton today and save up to 40% on the perfect package for your man's package. I absolutely love that commercial. I am an effing idiot, and I do not mind showing it. I was asked, how many takes did that take? It took 2 takes. I tried to record 2 different ways. You can hear a difference in the audio. At least I might be the only one that notices it, but I hear the difference in the audio. It took 2 different takes to try to get all that done. A grand total of 5 minutes of me talking to come up with 60 seconds that sounds halfway decent. I love that commercial. It's one of my favorite things that I've done. Once again, go support our friends over at www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. Show me a little bit of love, guys. Love your nuts. Love the tip as well. Jesus Christ, I'm going to get kicked off of Roku. We are on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Thank you all so much for being a part of today's show live once again on YouTube, X, and Facebook, all over the place. We've got a ton of comments that have been coming in as well. I think I have a new catchphrase. I think there's going to be a way that I'm going to turn that into a shirt. I've got a couple of shirts that are being made right now. I cannot wait to debut those here on the show. Augustine called me yesterday, and he said, loves the show. There's people out there that have been talking about it as well. It's just so early in the morning. I cannot believe that the group of people that have been a part of this from the very first show, Medusa, Augustine, Tommy, those of y'all, thank you so much. Adrian Zamudio, Linda McGrath, a lot of you that have been a part of this since that very first show back in November have to deal with my nonsense and personality this early in the morning. But like, it feels highly inappropriate to have to deal with the guy whose nickname is The Tip this early in the morning. But if there's a better time for the tip, I'd like to know it. There's never a bad time for it, is there? Is there ever a bad time? God, I'm going to get kicked off of Roku. It'll be all right, though, guys. We had a good run. The month that we were on, we had a good run. I hope they do not watch any of this. That's another one, too, right? Tommy has to remind me of it. Another one. The meat slinger, baby. We're slinging that meat. I've got to find a way to get like a sponsorship or something like that from like what is it, Butcher Box or something like that. I'm gonna have to find my way for the meat slinger to start slinging some more meat. It's been a while. It's been 4 years. Oh my God. It's been almost 5 years since the debut of the Meat Slinger. Again, another way of me having to deal with just nonsense over at iHeartMedia. Once again, that show might come out sometime soon. I'm debating on if I should just do it live to allow you all to ask questions, or if I should just like pre-record it and say it's going out into the universe. I got my hands off of it. I'm probably going to go the live route just because if y'all ask me questions, it might bring up more things that I would be able to say. My time there, short, super short. I could write a book about it. It's fantastic. Anyway, I mentioned it before we went to the break that we were going to do our Tippy top 10. Now, these are the top 10 teams in the NFL. We'll do the power bottoms tomorrow, but we're going to do the top 10 teams in the NFL right damn now. And the first team that we're going to start with at number 10 are the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, 8-5 on the season, plus 71 in the plus minus, so we know what their scoring differential is, plus 71 on the season. We saw them take on the Cleveland Browns yesterday. Cleveland, not a good team. Flatly, we'll just go out there and say that. Cleveland is not a good team. The Broncos did what they were supposed to do, and they dominated against the Cleveland Browns. This, though, is a team that at the beginning of the year, I would have said I have no faith in. Just none whatsoever. I don't know what it is about that team at the beginning of the year that has changed from now, but seeing the progression of Bo Nix to being a rookie quarterback into being what could be a potential rookie of the year quarterback, dark horse rookie of the year quarterback, this dude has it. Whatever the proverbial it is, Bo Nix has. 61 starts in college. So far, a great NFL career. He knows how to manage an offense, and he's doing a great job at it. Once again, we all have meters, right? I think the Dallas Cowboys meter is flatlining right now the way that it always is. Cleveland Browns is pointing down. The meter for the Denver Broncos is pointing up. If you're a Denver Broncos fan, you are extremely happy with that team right here as well. Tommy Canassa saying that right there is the Sean Payton effect. That's why he wanted him in Dallas last year. I was of that same mindset. I could only imagine Dak Prescott's progressions if he were to have had a quarterback whisperer a la Sean Payton as his head coach. What that could have done for the Dallas Cowboys. At number 9, I know they haven't had a lot of success over the last couple of weeks. They seem to be trying to get their footing under them. But what I have right now are the Houston Texans. Yes, the Texans struggled out a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, the Houston Texans seem to have a couple of issues. C.J. Stroud has taken the sophomore slump, doing the little regression back to the mean that most sophomore quarterbacks are going to do. But this is still a team that has a good defense. They have Joe Mixon at running back. They've got Nico Collins. They have talent, is what I'm saying. This team has a ton of talent. All they need is a quarterback, C.J. Stroud, to get to even the level that he was at earlier this year. Doesn't need to be the rookie of the year level that he was last year. Just needs to be who he was earlier this year. And it seems like he's just trying to do too much. Jacksonville, again, a bad team. So Houston did what they had to do. That's exactly what Houston needed to do, was beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. News coming out of Houston right before the show started was that their safety, their linebacker, Azeez Al-Shaair, was suspended for 3 games because of the hit that he had on Trevor Lawrence. There's a part of me that has an issue with that, simply because I don't think it was a super malicious hit. He had, yes, he launched into a quarterback that was sliding. I don't think the mindset, though, was I'm going to hurt this guy. I don't think that he came into the game saying my goal is to hurt Trevor Lawrence. Footballed. That's exactly what happened. Footballed. And unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence got a concussion. Seeing the way that he seized up makes you kind of cringe and wonder what's going to be the future for Trevor Lawrence. But man, Azeez Al-Shaair suspended for 3 games. 3 games for that hit. I'd have said a game, maybe 2 games, maybe. I know there are a lot of people saying that he should be suspended for the rest of the season, get rid of the man's career, whatever it may be. My whole mindset on it was it's a football play, man. Like it wasn't necessarily that he hit Trevor Lawrence head on. It's the way Trevor Lawrence's head snapped back into the turf, which is what caused the suspension. Tommy Canazzo saying, wow, 3 games, shake my head. Do you think that's too much or too little, Tommy? I'm trying to figure it out here. Was it too much or too little in your thought process on the Azeez Al-Shaair suspension? But the Houston, I was going to call them the Houston Astros. Wow. The Houston Texans, my number 9 team here on the Tippy Top 10. At number 8, coming off a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I love Baltimore. I love their team. Love the team. But you can see where the issues are going to be. The issue is going to be defense. Again, never would have thought you'd say this with the Baltimore Ravens team, that the issue would be defense. Tommy Canazzo saying the suspension on Al-Shaair is way too much. Maybe a game and a big fine. And that's the thing, too, is I believe he's going to get fined as well. So you're going to miss 3 games and have a huge fine for Azeez Al-Shaair off of that hit that he had on Trevor Lawrence. I'd like people, if you haven't seen it, go check out that hit. I don't think it was, again, I don't find any malice in it. Was it a bad play? Yes. Does he deserve some sort of punishment? Yes. 3 games, though, I don't know. That feels like a bit much for a football play. The Ravens, a plus 65 scoring differential, 8-5 on the season. Yes, they just lost in a big way to Philadelphia, but this is a team that if they can establish the run, you do not want to face. Justice Hill, underrated running back, and also underrated whenever it comes to the screen game as well. Obviously, the elephant in the room is Derrick Henry, right? Who's going to step up in the wide receiver room for the Baltimore Ravens? And I'd love to see anybody. You already got Mark Andrews. You've already got Isaiah Likely. You know they are going to do what they do. You need one of those receivers to step up. Is it going to be Zay Flowers? We saw him drop a couple of easy passes in the last game. Is it going to be Zay Flowers? Who's going to be the person that steps up to the plate for the Baltimore Ravens? At number 7, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like they should be higher, but I can't justify putting them higher over some of the other teams that I have here. Pittsburgh 9-3 on the season. Russell Wilson, again, I have to show my contrition. I was wrong. You're not as washed as I thought you were. Pittsburgh seems to be a whole team, right? A good defense, a good running game, a quarterback that might not be accurate within 5 yards, but if you let him throw the ball down the field, seems to be the most accurate person in the history of football. They have themselves some good steps going forward. I like what I'm seeing out of Pittsburgh right now, and it pains me to say that as someone that literally hates them for whatever reasons that I possibly have, right? Want to go shout out to our guy, Clay Gardner, who's tuned into the show right now. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show, Clay. At number 6, I have the Green Bay Packers, 9-3 on the season. We've seen this team absolutely dismantle and decimate teams. Maybe their weakness would be on the defensive side of the ball. They give up a lot of yards, but offensively, they can run with anybody. I didn't think the signing of Josh Jacobs was going to be successful, but it turns out he's exactly what they needed. Maybe Aaron Jones isn't the type of runner that Josh Jacobs was, and that's what they needed to get by. Aaron Jones still having himself a good year in Minnesota, but man, you just see what this team does. Jordan Love being the quarterback, and again, the envious position of the Green Bay Packers to have Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to possibly Jordan Love for however many years. It's such a highlight of that organization to show that they are just a great overall team. Like from top to bottom, they are ran the way that you want your team to be ran. Jordan Love sits behind Aaron Rodgers, who sat behind Brett Favre to learn the game, just wasn't thrown out there and fed to the wolves. drafted late in the first round, these quarterbacks, no pressure on them, none at all. If you're a top quarterback, you're drafted number 1 overall, number 5 overall, you have to start right away. This league does not allow you to sit back and get used to the speed of the league anymore if you're one of those top picks. And the Green Bay Packers just seem to keep doing this right, rolling this year, plus 78 in the point differential, 9-3 on the season. The Green Bay Packers, to me, that's going to be a great, great team. Tommy Cananza saying, we had Romo to Dak to rush. What are you talking about, Mike? I always love I'm one of these people, like, I love just naming dudes, right? I'll go over like 1990s baseball players and, just start naming off who they are. And I always love getting in the conversation of naming off quarterbacks that used to play for the Dallas Cowboys between Aikman and Romo. Now, anytime I get to say the name Clint Storner, I am a happy man. Well, like it's Drew Henson, right? Quincy Carter. Oh man, we're in my wheelhouse with this one. Ryan Leaf, Vinny Testaverde. Look at the amount of names that you can name off from Rodney Peete, where you can go from Troy Aikman all the way over to Tony Romo. And I want to say it was only maybe a 5-year period between the two. Drew Bledsoe, right? Like Hutchinson, Henson, Carter. Like, my goodness, man. There's a ton of quarterbacks that you can name off that started for the Dallas Cowboys between Romo and Aikman. And it's one of my favorite games to play. Also, knowing that John Kitna was the backup for Tony Romo 1 year, just chef's kiss. Absolutely love me some John Kitna. That's also another thing of mine, naming Dallas Cowboys backup quarterbacks. Babe Loffenberg, friend of the show. At number 5, I have the Minnesota Vikings. You got to give the devil their due. They're 10-2 on the season. They are going out there handling their business. The Vikings they're one of those teams that you don't necessarily want to play. Yeah, they had a scare this week against Arizona. A lot of people say Arizona's a halfway decent team. I'm not one of them. Arizona does create problems, though. Looking at what Minnesota has, you have Aaron Jones. We mentioned it earlier, right? That game could have been much more lopsided if Aaron Jones catches a couple of balls, doesn't fumble. You're listening to the broadcast, Greg Olsen saying, look, we don't cheer for guys, but when you see someone struggling, you love to watch them bounce back. That's exactly what happened with Aaron Jones. He was able to bounce back. Solid running back for the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, you got Justin Jefferson. Sam Darnold, to me, is going to be your question mark. But that's because I feel like we unfairly judge Sam Darnold based off of what we saw in New York and what we saw in Carolina. Sam Darnold seems to be getting the job done. He has talent around him, something he didn't have in New York and something he didn't have in Carolina. He's got talent around him. What can he do now? Now, obviously, it'll be his first year making it to the playoffs as a starter. It'll be his first year going deep into some deep playoff runs. What are you going to get out of Sam Darnold? Augustine Pimentel. Oh, okay. There's a whole other conversation going on over here about whether or not Destiny knows about the Happy Nuts thing. Obviously she does. Like, come on, guy. Obviously she does. But the Minnesota Vikings at 9-2, that to me, or 10-2 rather, most of the time when you're 10-2, you're leading your division. And what this is showing is really showing the difference in the haves and the have-nots in the NFL. Obviously, teams are going to regress to the mean, or if they're really bad right now, they might progress up to the mean. But you're looking at just a huge gulf in between the teams that are good as far as record goes, 10 or 11-1, 10-2, 9-3, versus what you got on the other side, which is a ton of 2-10s and all the bad teams that are out there with just terrible records. The haves and the have-nots are being shown right now. The Minnesota Vikings, though, one of the teams that, what are they going to do in the playoffs? What are they going to do whenever that time of year comes? Because that, to me, is what shows what they're made of, right? What is Sam Darnold's next step going to be? You've been in the league for a while now, right? the Jets become the first team, I want to say, since the 1950s to lose to a quarterback that they drafted twice. They lost to Geno Smith earlier this year, and then they lost to Sam Darnold with Minnesota earlier this year. Feels like they gave up on these guys a little too early or just didn't build a team around them. Aaron Rodgers figuring that one out the hard way. At number 4, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they're 11-1. Yes, they find ways to win. But you just have to feel like there's going to come a point with the Kansas City Chiefs that what they're doing isn't going to correlate to wins. And that, to me, is going to be the big question when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Their plus minus is one of the lowest of any team ever that has an 11-1 record of only 54, right? Like we're saying only 54. They've won these games by an average of almost 5 points a game. So almost a touchdown. But what they're doing is they're winning. And they're one of these conundrum type teams that you can see how they're going to lose if they lose. But unlike a lot of other teams that are out there, the if they lose part is a huge caveat. If they lose, it's a monstrous if. It's the biggest if in the history of ifs ever. If the Kansas City Chiefs lose. Because you can also watch this team and think to yourself, if they win a Super Bowl again, I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody would be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs just turned it on in the playoffs and started beating the hell out of everybody. Tommy Cananza saying they better hope their luck doesn't run out during the playoffs. I'm with that as well. But I also don't know. There's that fine line, right? There's a fine line between luck and just good. We know they're good. None of us can doubt that the Kansas City Chiefs are good. Maybe this is what they look like whenever they actually have luck on their side. What if this year they're both good and lucky? That is a terrifying concept to try to grasp. Is what if this year the Kansas City Chiefs are good and lucky? What if the offense is just taking a little bit of a break? Obviously, that's a huge, again, caveat, what if. We can't live in the world of what if. We have to live in the world of what is. What if they're good is the same as what is? They're 11-1 on the season. You are what your record says you are this deep into the season, to use an adage from Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are. They are 11-1. They're good. Now they just might have luck on their side too, which is just a mind-blowing concept to think about. They're good, but they've had a lot of luck too. That's what Tommy Cananza goes on to say. Yeah, it's 100%. Like I said, I'll agree with you. They're a frustrating team for me to watch because I love Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, me and my ties loving Texas Tech. I love me some Patrick Mahomes. I want to see this team be the team that we saw in the past. But the thing that's scary is they don't have to be the team that puts up 50 points a game to win. Now they can only put up 17 points a game and win because their defense is dominant. Most of the time, whenever you pay the quarterback, there's a huge fall off in talent around him, right? That's what happened to Seattle with Russell Wilson. After Russ got paid, you had to get rid of the Legion of Boom. You had to start getting rid of players like Bobby Wagner. You had to start getting rid of wide receivers, and you had to start getting rid of Marshawn Lynch-type players. They had to do that. The Kansas City Chiefs somehow, some way, have managed to just continue. Tommy's saying they should be 8-4 right now. They should be 8-4. They're still in the playoffs. They're still not a team you want to play in the playoffs because unlike all the other teams that are going to make the playoffs this year, unlike all those teams, the Kansas City Chiefs have shown you they have the ability to win in the playoffs, to win ugly, to win pretty, whatever it takes to win, just win. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs have done all season long. Going back to last year, they were a defensive-minded team. sounds like sacrilege to say about the Kansas City Chiefs that they're a defensive-minded team. But this team right here is not a team I think anybody wants to play. And I have them as the fourth best team in the NFL right now. At number 3, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to give the devil their due once again. Philadelphia doing what they need to do in order to win games. Saquon Barkley making a real case for the MVP. 1,499 yards on the season for Saquon Barkley. If he doesn't get to 2,000, that would be the shocker, right? If he doesn't get to 2,000, that would be the shocker. Tommy Carranza throwing the tomatoes at me for talking about Philadelphia. I apologize, my guy. I've got to be as unbiased as possible. We already know where my biases lie as a Cowboys fan. I can't be like, they're 10-2, but they're terrible, bro. I cannot do that. They're 10-2. They're 10-2 for a reason. They're out here just beating teams. Again, Baltimore, a really good team, looked overwhelmed at the end of the game against Philadelphia. Philadelphia, again, all they need to do is just run the ball. And if they can't run the ball, then you have A.J. Brown, you have Dallas Goedert, you got Devontae Smith. Like this team is just a solid team. That's why they're number 3 on the Tippy top 10. At number 2, I have the Detroit Lions. Yes, the Detroit Lions are 11-1 on the season. Struggled a little bit against the Chicago Bears. I'm not putting much into that, right? Like, I'm not looking at this team being like, oh, there's a chink in the armor of the Detroit Lions. It was a Thursday game, the early Thursday game after playing on a Sunday. No one wants that game, right? So obviously you just want to play it, get the win, get on out of there. Yes, it took a disastrous 34 seconds from the Chicago Bears. I went back and watched it. I just to see if I can see something, right? Like maybe there was something. And what you saw was Caleb Williams murdering the soul of Matt Eberflus as he hikes the ball with 8 seconds left, looks around a little bit, decides with 2 seconds left, screw it, throws it, but doesn't get it near the end zone. Obviously, that's Matt Eberflus's decision. Like, hey, let's not call the timeout right here. But Matt Eberflus winds up getting canned for losing that way on Thanksgiving. You talk about a Black Friday. It was a Black Friday for Matt Eberflus. No way you survived that. He had to go to a press conference knowing I'm probably going to get my ass fired right now. But Detroit doing what they got to do, you win. Doesn't matter how you win, they win. They still have the best point differential in the NFL at 180 points, so they're blowing teams out. One of the few teams in NFL history to score 50 points twice, and they could have done it 4 times. They really could have done it 4 times. They took their foot off the gas against the Dallas Cowboys. But the Detroit Lions, the number 2 team here on the Tippy Top 10. Going over the list right now. At 10, we have the Denver Broncos. At 9, we have the Houston Texans. At 8, we have the Baltimore Ravens. At 7, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. 6, the Green Bay Packers. 5, the Minnesota Vikings. 4, the Kansas City Chiefs. 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. 2, the Detroit Lions. And number 1, we have the Buffalo Bills. They handed the Kansas City Chiefs their only loss in the season. They went and thoroughly dismantled the San Francisco 49ers, a team that we thought is a running team in snow, could not keep up with the Buffalo Bills. They have a great offense. They have a great defense. Again, out of, I think, 3 of the 4 teams that I named in the top 4, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Bills, 3 of those teams, you would say, I am not surprised if this team wins the Super Bowl. That's Buffalo, Kansas City, and Detroit. You'd be very surprised if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, given everything we know about Nick Sirianni. You'd be very surprised about that. But the Buffalo Bills, to me, are the best team in the NFL. Josh Allen could be the only person that denies Saquon Barkley his MVP. He is playing the MVP level that we expected him to play. The issue with them was being able to pass the ball earlier in the season. Now they sign Amari Cooper. They get themselves a legitimate number one receiver, and this is a team that nobody wants to see in the playoffs. I don't think Kansas City wants to see this team in the playoffs. Maybe they do because they've had bad luck against Kansas City in the playoffs, but I don't think anybody out there wants to see the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. And nobody wants to go through Buffalo in order to make it to the Super Bowl. Think about the home field advantage the Buffalo Bills would have. We saw this team in a snow game, in a damn blizzard, obliterate what everyone has considered one of the toughest, most strong-nosed teams in the NFL that just puts their head down and runs. And the Buffalo Bills dismantled them. It's going to be fun to watch how the remainder of the season goes. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, tomorrow we're going to have our power bottoms, the power bottoms of the NFL. That's going to happen tomorrow. And we're also going to show an interview that I wanted to show today, but I just got caught up in time, and I wasn't able to get it done. If you want to see the interview that I had with Chris Byrne, it's on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton Facebook page. I'm going to share it out to YouTube in just a little bit as well. Check that out, though. Great ideas for toy shopping for the kids, even the tweens and the teenagers in your life. Visit www.thetoyguy.com. Shout out to our friends over at Rev Auto. Shout out to our friends over at Happy Nuts. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Mike Tipton with a message for the ladies. Ladies, the man in your life doesn't know how to tell you this, but his nuts are not happy. Don't worry, you can make them happy by giving him happy nuts this holiday season. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton and look for the perfect package that fits your man's package. From our Jingle Bells Your Ball Smell gift box that contains a Happy Nuts Comfort Cream and Anti-Chafe Comfort Stick, two of our best sellers, and a special gift your man would love to hang from the tree. To our fresh and clean bundle, our special soaps, and even our patented nut scrubber, MyHappyNuts.com has everything you need to take your man's nuts from being sad to happy this holiday season. Visit MyHappyNuts.com/Mike Tipton today and save up to 40% on the perfect package for your man's package.